Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I wanted to talk about multiplayer, the possibilities it brings to Project Zomboid, what kind of multiplayer servers you can expect to see when servers go up, and finally, I wanted to touch on my vision for a multiplayer server or two of my own. So if you find this video useful or want to see more Project Zomboid content, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. So a little background here, the devs have recently put out an update which effectively says that they're still on track for a December release for multiplayer on the most recent build of the game, with the caveat that it may be pushed back until after the Christmas holidays if it's getting too close to Christmas when it's ready, just so that the team can actually be available to hotfix the update and fix any issues, obviously. I'll leave a link to the recent video I did covering that full update in the description and also on the end screen of this video as well if you want to hear a little bit more about that. Anyway, moving on from that, we can take a look at what to expect when multiplayer drops. So, server hosting has always been on the community side of things. That means that we'll be able to set up servers as we want them, with different settings from different hosts and with different rules to suit what we want to see in our own servers. I'm sure, as you guys can imagine, there will likely be the primary three rule sets that we see in so many games, that being PvE, PvP, and RP servers. Interestingly, even on PvE servers, there used to be a way to toggle PvP on, so players can still fight each other if they want to. It's just completely optional. I've never been one for RP myself, but I can imagine that this comes into play at some point in RP servers as well, perhaps when entering certain areas or situations. Now, regardless of what you're looking for, the great thing about community controlled servers is that there will be a server for you out there somewhere, and it will have exactly what you're looking for, because every single server will be different. You just have to find the right one for you. One question I get asked quite a lot as well is whether mods will work on multiplayer servers or whether that's purely a single player thing, and to my knowledge, mods will absolutely work with multiplayer, and as far as I'm aware, the server host determines which mods are being used on the server at any given time. Now, what I'm not sure about is whether these will download automatically when you join the server, or whether it'll remove you if you don't have the right mods and prompt you to install them. If we could have any experts in the comments actually that know how this works, please do feel free to let me know. Now, if any of you are wondering about the sorts of controls that admins will have when playing on a multiplayer server, the best comparison I can probably give you is to that of the debug mode in single player if you've ever tried that previously. Admins will be able to travel around at fast speeds, make themselves invisible to other players, and of course have access to basic logs of activity to better enforce whatever rule sets the server has. Now, providing you find a good community server to join where admins don't abuse their power, this gives them some great control over making sure rules are maintained and everyone has the best experience possible. When it comes to griefing, they're also backed up by some in-game features. So let's take a look at safe houses, for example. This feature essentially allows you to claim existing structures as a home base, with the exception of some buildings that cannot be claimed. This then prevents any sort of tampering, building, or editing of existing structures within that area. And this actually feeds nicely into part of my vision for a server that I'd like to run when multiplayer opens up. Most servers either opt for full PvE, full PvP, or PvP with some PvE areas. When it comes to my own servers, I actually want to flip that last one on its head. Something I see a lot of people talking about is the lack of players interacting with each other in survival games, and really wanting people to talk before they shoot in most cases. But of course, many just shoot first and ask questions later, understandably, probably based on some of the experiences they've had in the past. Allowing players to bump into each other within zones that are PvE based will seriously help with interactions between players. Groups will form and even communities will start to be built. It'll also give people a bit of an easier start leading up to the point where they have some gear. So this is what I'm going to be doing with my server. The idea with this setup is that any area containing significant amounts of loot will cause your PvP to enable automatically when you pass a certain threshold. It'll be hard to camp these areas with the sheer size of them, and the fact that they won't be clearly marked by any boundaries of any sort will also make that difficult. The PvP areas will revolve around the level of loot you can expect in that area. If you're headed to something like a quarantine camp, a military base, a gun store, maybe a police station in the middle of the city, you're likely going to find yourself in a PvP area. Hopefully this will give players the chance to gear up, group up and then take on higher challenge areas from there together with the added threat of players and hostile interactions. I'm sure this might not be for everyone, but judging by the poll that we ran on the channel not too long ago, just shy of 60% of players are mostly interested in PvE. Now, with that in mind, I think this is going to be a great mix for the community without pushing anyone to do something that they're not interested in. The downside is that right now, at least, there's no mods or built-in admin controls to make this easier. I'll essentially have to go around the map and highlight the whole thing as a PvE area, then leave out any areas that I want to be flagged as PvP zones. It's doable, but it takes a lot of manual input, and hopefully it all works as it should and we'll be on our way for some kick-ass Zomboid servers. But if there's anybody out there that's watching this that thinks that maybe they could do something like this with a mod, please do, because I would love you for it and I will 100% be using that. Now, one final thing that I wanted to touch on in this video is whitelisting. Currently, players can be whitelisted for a server to gain access without anyone else being able to access that server. Essentially, you would need a whitelist. Personally, I'd really like to see a system that allows for queues to build up on servers that are full, and for whitelisted players to have priority in said queues, but sadly that isn't an option right now. That means that we'll have a whitelisted server as well, which will be linked to my Patreon. Anyone that subscribes to the Patreon with the Drake package or higher will be given instant access to the Patreon server, which should cover the costs for keeping all of the servers up and running. For anyone interested in that, when it comes around, the Drake package comes at just £3 or whatever that is in US dollars, and I will leave a link to that in the description of this video if you're interested. So that's it from me in this one, guys. As you can probably tell, I am massively excited for multiplayer to come around and what it could mean for the Project Zomboid community. So I'm looking forward to diving into that with a bunch of you guys on ground level when the servers go up. One last shameless self-plug before the end of this video. If you're interested in playing on my servers or just want to interact with a bunch of Project Zomboid players just like yourselves, make sure to join my Discord. The link for that is in the description, and it will 100% be used to update you guys on the progress of our servers. Once again, a special thank you to all of my patrons who are already supporting me, and I hope to see you all in the next one.